Okay, guys, we're going to take a couple of minutes. We're waiting for one more board member, so we need to have four total members in order for us to start the meeting. So that's why we're running a couple of minutes late. We're waiting for either one on Zoom or one to sit right next to me. Thank you. One of our board members just pulled up to the parking, so we should get started shortly. Thank you. Okay, good afternoon. The time is 6:09. We're going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. Mark, can you lead us in an invocation? And I want to also recognize one of our board members, Andy Lopez, who's in the hospital right now. So we want to wish him some prayers as well. Please rise.
Okay, let's pray. Father, we come to you. We thank you for today, and we thank you for the elected officials that give of their time and their energies and their efforts to serve our community. We ask you to bless them. We thank you for everyone here that took out of their evening to come and be a part of our government, and we thank you for them, and we ask you to bless each one as they present and as they give their information. Special prayer for Mr. Andres Lopez as he's struggling with health, and we ask you to just heal him and make him well, and so that he can enjoy um, his life and enjoy his family and friends, and be able to help us here as well. Just ask you to heal him. Bless us all in Jesus' name, amen. To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Okay, it's 6:11. Public hearing is open on the annexation of a 116.43 acre tract of land located near the west side of the city limits on the north side of Highway 100. At this moment, anybody who'd like to speak about it, this is the time.
Mr. Mayor, just so the public will know where it is, it's on Highway 100. If y'all know where Las Palmas housing place is, it's from the drainage ditch to the west, and from the Highway 100 all the way past Whipple Road to the Resaca's, those acreage there, planned about 800 plus homes there is the idea. So that's where this is talking about.
If nobody has anything further to say in regards to the public hearing, I call oh, come right ahead.
Mayor, Commissioners, several years ago, the city annexed land west on Highway 100. And I don't think have delivered any services yet. I know I've had a couple of people ask questions about that. And I know that on this development, the developer, I'm sure, will put in the main capillary and structure, but is it to where feasible to where some of these houses that were annexed several years ago can connect water and sewer to those facilities that are being developed?
Mark, do you know anything about that, Mark?
Sure, it is the Texas Water Development Board funds that y'all have approved, and we're waiting for their final approval in order to let that contract to provide the sewer services there.
Thank you.
On this one, it's not us annexing, it's them asking for annexation, so they provide all of the utilities and the services.
Thank you very much for that. Come on up, Mr. Keeler.
Apologize, I don't understand. But we're talking something a half mile out past people that have been waiting for sewer for 6 years. Now, who's gonna run the line from where the sewer terminates to this subdivision? Does anybody have that answer? I understand it's gonna be with the developer within the subdivision will run his own lines, but who's gonna take care of it from point A to point B, 3/4 of a mile past where we have sewer?
Mark, you want to answer that question, Mark?
There may be a follow-up question on that.
Yes, sir. The developer pays for all that and installs that according to our engineer's specifications. And then once it's done, it's turned over to the city.
Thank you.
I didn't quite understand that. Is he paying for the line to take care of his subdivision? Or will that include all the people that have been waiting for sewer and water, like on the south side of Highway 100, just opposite Walmart? People have been waiting for sewer. Now, I think it's pushing 6 years.
Mr. Mayor, that's not part of this open public hearing part. I'll be glad to answer those questions. I have the answers. I did tell you that with the Water Development Board funds, those will be done. The sewer connection for this other subdivision will go a completely different route. The engineers have worked on that with their engineers, and so it won't even go to this location. It'll go a different way. And so.
That makes sense. Thank you very much. I know today we're talking about this particular item on the public hearing, but we can definitely have Mark answer your questions at a later time.
Yeah, I was just coming on what you already brought up.
Thank-
The people going that are lacking sewer going out there.
Thank you, Mr. Keeler. So with that said, if there's no other questions or comments in regards to the public hearing, we'll go ahead and close it at 6:16. At this time, I'd like to acknowledge some visitors' remarks. I'm going to go in order here. Manuel Abrigo wishes to speak at this time. Would you please like to come up in regards to visitors' remarks? And just to remind you, everybody gets a 5-minute time frame to talk, and that'll give everybody enough time to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm here on behalf of our high school baseball and softball teams. They had one heck of a season. We've never been there in the playoffs that far in. And I just wanted to go on record and officially recognize these both softball team and baseball team. With that said, if you go to our city parks, and I challenge all of you to go to a city park Saturday mornings or all day Saturday for that matter, we have tons of kids in our parks playing from T-ball, minor league, major league, and that's where it starts. Those are feeder programs for high school, and of course the parents do a heck of a job, or coaches, or volunteers. But what I would like to see somewhere down the road, maybe a sports complex. We got to start somewhere, investing in some land. You know, when I was in school, we didn't have soccer. We didn't have any of that. Now soccer is a big thing. We can see where Brownsville down the road has their sports complex. So as you work your budget this summer, it wouldn't hurt to open a little account. Just and keep that in mind. You're touching kids' lives, you know, you're touching the future. You're seeing those 4-year-olds play T-ball, hitting the ball, running to third base instead of first. It's beautiful. And we have a lot of things going on here in Los Fresnos. You know, we have a beautiful EMS, fire department, city hall, And we need to start an account for a sports complex. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Abrigo. I remember as a kid myself being out there on the baseball courts, on the baseball fields, watching my dad play, and just a lot of memories at that park, especially the one that's right on Highway 100. So I agree with you. That's something to consider. Thank you very much. Next up, I have Javier, or I think it's Jose Luis Amaya. Is that correct? Come on up, Mr. Amaya. How are you doing today?
Good afternoon. I'm gonna hand
afternoon.
out some pictures so you know what I'm talking about. Sorry, because my English is not 100% good, but I'm gonna try the best. The first thing is I'm gonna thank Mr. Mylon because the branches Mr. Jose Sosa told me to cut in the property Jacqueline subdivision. After 5 months, they pick it up. They take 5 months to pick it up, but thank you anyhow. Now it look better. The second one's we're waiting for a big celebration here in town. I'm asking this because I hear years ago they have a big bonfire here in front of the high school, right? And to me, look like we stack a lot of wood. Yes, in the entrance of town from Broadview, you can see that pallets. That's real dangerous. In the summer, it's gonna be real hot. So that could be a big fire. That means we need to have all the fire trucks ready to go over there in case something happens. I hope nothing happens, but that's just a big possibility fire, right? Okay, the second one is someone told me on the place I live, putting signs and the fences, don't park in the alley. I know that there are fences, there are fences, but I don't think they can tell me don't park in there for a few hours. You know, the only ones who can tell me don't park there is the police. If I block in the alley, other ways, if there are cars somebody else can go through, I don't think they can tell me about it. The other thing is, I don't think you can see some pictures there in the alleys, full cars, branches, all kind of stuff. Jose Sosa told me, yeah, it's right, we can park in the alleys. It's only for the EMS trucks, but I don't think any truck can go to that alleys. There are cars, even they are parking, fixing cars there, okay? The other ones are streets now start looking like a Matamoros streets, lots of holes all over. You can go behind Dairy Queen, you know, you can go around town, it's lots of holes in the street. I can park in double line, right, in the streets. You can see there some pictures, they parking in double line, even they parking in the sidewalks, on top of the sidewalks, they fixing cars in the sidewalk, and it's supposed we're not allowed to do that. If I do that, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna get a ticket. Okay? I think it's not right. Now, large sidewalks, they are blocking from cars, and people walk around the streets. They don't have time to go to the parks, but they walk around. Now they need to walk in the street, not in the sidewalk. That is a danger for people. Okay. Now the other thing, by the natural park, they make it like for the birds and butterflies and all that. That's look beautiful. But I hope they talk to the police so they can go inside and check around, because sooner or later we're gonna have some problems there with junks, with teens. You know, they can use it to smoke pot and all kind of stuff. I hope we don't see too many pregnant little girls in Walmart next year, because could be happen there. So I hope that police go over there and check it about that. Okay, that's a beautiful thing they're doing there. It's nice. I like it. I go with my grandsons there, but it's only that. Okay. You can see our pictures there. My time is off. You can check it. You can keep it. But some of the stuff I need to talk about it. And I'm talking just like a regular citizen, a regular person live here in town. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Maya. Definitely, Mark, go ahead. You want to say something, Mark?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I just wanted, so y'all would know, and for the public's information, the pallet company is in a legal issue. That's why it's, the way it is. They are working slowly on removing some, not near as much as we would like, but, the legal process takes a long time. So that's what that is. As far as the branches in his property that he referred, that is a property that is not served by, garbage service. And so those are not picked up. The property owner is supposed to take care of those themselves. I asked for a favor of our garbage company to go ahead and pick those up, and they did. So really, that was supposed to be the responsibility of the property owner.
Thank you, Mark, for clarifying that information. Next up, I have a few visitors' remarks, but they did not notify if they want to speak now or when we get to the Henderson topic. So first, I want to start with Ida. Is it Babon? If Ida would like to speak now or speak later. Okay, great. Come on up. Thank you for being here today.
Hi, my name is Ida Bivon, and my husband and I built a home about 7 years ago in, on South Guates. And of course, they were working on the bridges, and that's taken a long time. And so my concern is when I travel and I'm coming, it narrows and it's just so scary as a woman driver. In fact, today there was a truck coming and I had to kind of pull over even though I was on my right side. And so I think that really needs to be addressed because I think, there could be an accident. And also, there's no shoulder. I would think that so much money has been spent, I think, on this bridge. I understand that, it's taken a long time. And my husband walks and, when there's someone walking, you really have to be careful. You have to go in the grass. So there is no shoulder. And a lot of us like to walk in that area and we really, really can't. I've told my husband, please don't, but he continues. And we see a lot of people walking and kids going to high school. And so I think that needs to be addressed because for one thing, I'm a woman driver and I try to, when it rains, it was really scary the last time it rained. There was a lot of water. And so those areas are really scary to cross. And then to have that area so narrow, it just adds to the whole, part of crossing that bridge. So I think you all really have to address that issue because maybe, I don't know all the engineering that goes behind it. I don't know about, the drainage. All I know is when I'm on that road, I have to be extra careful, extra careful. And so I hope that this is my first time I'm here before a city meeting, but I just feel like it has to be addressed and hopefully you all will listen. Thank you for your time.
Ms. Bivon, have you ever addressed this before? Have you called down to City Hall and asked to speak to Mark Mylan?
About the city hall, because where we live on South Guates, it floods in our area. And we did build our house high, but I have called and I've asked them and they say it's not a drainage. It might be, I really have not been, it hasn't been addressed. They come and they look, the workers, and they'll come. The cul-de-sac is never cut. We do cut beside our fence, but that cul-de-sac does not belong to us. It belongs to the city. So it really needs to be taken care of, especially when there's mosquitoes. They farm, the Miller's farm behind us. And I don't know whether something could be there to protect, the where they can farm. I don't know if there's any kind of issue with that. But I do know that when it rains, it's bad. We built a beautiful home out there and we did build the house high. My daughter just bought across the street, Helen Gerald's house. And so we're looking at trying to maybe what we can do to improve that area.
Most definitely, Ms. Vivon, and one of the things I would encourage you to do is, when you have time, Mark he can give you his phone number. If you ever need anything particular to your
I'm
situation.
talking Before, when we had the house built, there were some issues when we built the house.
Great,
And
great.
so,
That's good to know. I just want you to know we're here to help you, and if you have a concern, please let us know and we'll do our best. Thank you.
Hopefully you all will listen. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And I think Mr. Bevon, I remember him as an educator in Brownsville. Yeah, that name, I don't remember if it was Agley Elementary or somewhere, but I know that name. Okay, thank you. Thank you for speaking today, Ms. Bevon. The next one, probably have a hard, it says Rabio Liana or something like that. Ruben. And I'm not sure, Ruben, you checked off, you would like to speak both right now and when the item comes up, but you can only speak once. So it's either now or it's when the topic comes up. Okay, come on up, sir. Thank you for being here this evening.
North Juarez and South Juarez. The last time I came to the city meeting, I addressed drainage in a certain area, just where the road's been built. That section has not changed elevation. That section has remained stagnant, low. With this hard rains that have occurred, the water rushing from North Juarez has become a stronger stream. I was out there when it rained. Unfortunately, I was not ready with a movie camera or whatever because it was pouring. I had water almost up to my knee crossing that road. First thing, if everybody's well educated here, is they tell us, don't drive into rushing water nor high water. Like I said, mentioned. Too much water crossing that road. Okay, now, my property is the highest property around that area, the highest point. But now, since I'm the highest property, the road crossing from North Juarez into our side, is my property is being used as a barrier. Okay, if you all see the lift station there, I'm with TCEQ, and I know about cross connection. If we have such a hard rain and that water rushes into that lift station and all that personal vehicles that we have and some goes into that resaca because it overflows with all that rushing water, we're in big trouble. I'm not. You all are, because you're all gonna have to explain that to TCEQ. Okay, so that needs to be addressed. I wouldn't say rapidly, but it's a big concern. The other drainage that they built on the other side in North Juarez, that little concrete pad, to me, it's not even a drainage. It's a little sidewalk they could build there. So how's that gonna help? I would say maybe like 90% of the water that jumped over the road came to my side, and the remaining percentage went to the little drainage. So what was that for? You blame it on engineering. Well, is it the engineer's fault? Or is it because that since they, to me, the way I see it is they should have finished one section and looked at all the hazards that could have been eliminated and then jumped to the other side. But me as a contractor as well, the best thing for me to do is do one side and go jump to the other side because I want the money. Now, how many times have change of orders happened? And I said that in the last meeting. Do it carefully, take everything in consideration because the change of orders is gonna hit you in the butt. And I know it's already hitting us in the butt, the change of orders. How many times has there been a change of order on that road? Are we using the same engineer? 6 change of orders and the same engineer. Maybe when you start looking for another engineer, because think about it, 6 change of orders, this is not hundreds, this is thousands. And the same engineer is doing it and the same contractor is doing it. Come on, who's winning here? And I'm with her. That water is gonna create another problem, or it is creating a problem. So try to listen to it and please address it hard because it's gonna hit you.
Okay, and was your last name Linan? Okay, I was just trying to make sure I got it right. Mark, did you want to say anything in regards to what he just stated? Is there anything that needs to be said?
And what, okay,
On the change orders, most of them have been due to days because of COVID, because of products not being able to be available because of rain. The contract is actually lower than it was at the beginning. The two of the change orders were at the request of Cameron County Irrigation District number 6. And so the actual money that the city is out today is less than when we started the contract. So yes, there has been 6 change orders. There's one tonight. That'd be number 7, but I don't know if that answers anything.
Thank you, Mark.
I kind of, oh, it's time's up. No more time?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, and I saw a new change of order. And since I do with water, I know hydraulics and I'm gonna tell you, the way you have designed it now again, it's not gonna work. It's not gonna, because it's already at a correct slope because they designed it for the little, I call it a walkway. So now they're gonna put a grate. So when you do a grate or a drain, you're gonna go further down into the earth. So if they go down a grate, where's it gonna bump to? It needs to start again from point A all the way down to the recycle. That's the only way it's gonna work. You can't, it does, gravity is gonna take you down and then you're gonna bump and it's gonna back up. And where's it gonna back up? Onto that little section again. Unpassable.
Thank you, Mr. Leon. Next up, I have another visitor comments, and it was checked off both. This is for Rogue Villafranca. Would you like to speak right now, sir?
Yes.
Come on up. Thank you very much for being here today.
So, my name is Roque Villafranca. My home address is 215 Henderson Road. I lived there for about 14 years now. And my concerns are, of course, flooding, which has already been brought up, and also the narrow road. So we've seen flooding there in the past. In 2017, the water got to my doorsteps, right? And we brought it up to the attention of you guys. So some of that got fixed. Behind my house, it used to flood real bad. So I would like to thank you guys for that. A lot of flooding on the back. Now that property is for sale. But that got fixed. However, lately with the rain, it started flooding on the south side of the road. And it's starting to get risky. I mean, I've seen it on the north side of the road. And bottom line, the ditch is not big enough on the south side for the water to flow. And land on the south side is not level. So the water keeps coming north to the properties. So that's a big concern, of course. Because of flooding, it doesn't matter if one house floods or if the whole neighborhood floods. Once something floods, the zone's been flooded, flood zone, and the insurance is going to go up on everybody. It doesn't matter if it was one house or whatever amount of houses flood. So why wait till that happens? To me, it seems like we all have the same issue with flooding on the east and on the west side of the Resaca. So that is one of my main concerns, right? The other concern is the road. There's a lot of people that walk with their children. The school's coming back to action, and a lot of kids walk from the high school to their houses. They're walking in the middle of the road. I'm not sure what the right way would be, whether to extend the south side of the road with a shoulder 7 feet so that they can actually, children and people, pedestrians have a spot to walk and be able to be safe. But it is needed. And a tragedy can be avoided now before it happens. I know there's been tragedies in the past where we've had loss of life on the Resaca, where a vehicle went under and only one came out. I believe Ruben was the good Samaritan that jumped in the water and actually pulled one of the individuals in the truck out. The other one couldn't get him out. Thank you for that there, Ruben. But there's things that we can do, that we can be proactive and avoid. And one of them right now is maybe adding that shoulder on the south side of the road and building that ditch for the water to actually have a flow back to the Resaca. and avoid that flooding, and at the same time, be able to make that space for the people that like to walk in the area, that like to bike in the area. It's a really nice area. A lot of people enjoy walking in the area. And we can fix this issue before something happens. So that is why I'm here. And I see that a lot of the people that are here also, their concern is that, we were here in 2017, and as I said, some of the flooding got fixed, but not all of it. And we know it costs money, right? And I know that's an issue, but the project can be done in two phases. You can work from Paredes Line Road to La Resaca, maybe do the shoulder on the south side for now on that side, the ditch for the water to run. Help us out with that, and maybe later on the other side towards Old Dallas, right? But the flooding is all around in the whole neighborhood, and Cuates, and also on the east side of the Resaca, right? So it's obvious that we are all concerned with the same issues, and they can be fixed before tragedy happens. I just really feel real bad when I see kids walking in the middle of the road, because my kids already grew up and they're already out of the house, but at one time they were walking in the middle of the road, and there's no need for that. I think we can fix that. Of course, also the lighting, the lighting in the area is not very bright at night, and the lighting being weak and people walking in the streets, it's just something that is, it can be a very, very bad issue later on. So that's my concern. I appreciate you guys taking the time to speak. Mark, nice seeing you. And if you guys have any questions of my concerns, or if I can talk to Mark, I'll talk to him. I appreciate the time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Villafranca, for coming up today. Moving on, consent agenda. We have a total of consent agenda items. Before we make motion, any of the members have any questions into regards to any of the 12 consent agenda items that are listed?
I move we accept the items on the consent agenda.
Okay, motion has been made to acknowledge the 12 consent agenda items. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those who are opposed do the same. Motion carries to acknowledge the 12 consent agenda items. Moving on to action items. Action item number 1, consideration and action to approve a proclamation recognizing 3 siblings as valedictorian. So on this particular proclamation here, I wanted to take the time and recognize one of our own, Mr. Herrera. His daughter, Stephanie Herrera Garcia, I believe has 3 children, and all 3 children graduated valedictorian in the Los Fresnos CISDs for the school district. So, Mr. Abrego had talked about that accomplishment, and it's true. I don't think we've ever seen one family have 3 valedictorians graduate. So I move that we approve a proclamation to recognize the family of Stephanie Herrera Garcia for this great accomplishment. And I'll motion to approve. Motion has been made to approve action item number 1. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those who are opposed do the same. Motion carries.
I abstain.
Thank you very much. Action item number 2, consideration and action to approve the first reading of ordinance 524, the annexed territories of the city of Los Fresnos and extend the boundary limits as said of said city. And again, I believe this is a proposed development that we just finished talking about. Any questions or comments from the board? No questions and comments. Anybody wish to make a motion?
I move that we approve the first reading of ordinance F 24 as stated.
Second.
Motion has been made to approve action item number 2. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those who oppose do the same. And motion carries to approve action item number 2. Moving on to action item number 3, consideration and action to support and approve the CDC funding for the 2021 Narciso Martinez Culture Arts Center Conjunto Festival.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. My name is Rogelio Nunez. I'm the director of the Narciso Martinez Cultural Arts Center. And we're having our 28th annual Conjunto Festival, which this will be our 3rd year in Los Fresnos. We had to cancel last year for COVID. And we're asking any and all consideration from the commission to move forward with this event. October 15th and 16th will be at Memorial Park.
Any questions or comments, or do we want to make a motion?
I'll go ahead and move that we approve the and support the CDC funding for the Narciso Martinez Cultural Arts Center Conjunto Festival.
Motion has been made to approve and approved the second. Motion has been made to approve. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And all those who oppose do the same. And motion carries to approve action item number 3.
Thank you very much, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you very much. Action item number 4, consideration and action to assume ownership of the Palmer Law School and Laureles Liberty Memorial lift stations. As outlined, anybody have any questions or comments about this? Mark, would you like to say a couple of words?
Yes, sir. I'd like to just it's an unusual thing, so I wanted to be sure that you understood. When those schools were built, those stations were put in and the lines to extend service to the city, the lines were given over to the city, but the lift stations were not. Don't know why it was 20 plus years ago. It should have been at that time, just like you do a developer, where once it's built, then we take over that. There's 2 reasons for that. Number one is you're really charging for the service for to cover the lift station, but also it would help if there's someone there nearby that would need to connect. We could utilize those lift stations to do that. The school has come to us and says, why do we still own these? And so what we asked the engineer to do is to do a analysis of the wet well and the pumps and everything, and they're very good shape. In fact, they had replaced some pumps already, and so we feel like it's the time to do the right thing by the school district and assume responsibility of those.
Who had ownership before? Sure. Who was servicing them before?
We've always serviced them.
See,
It's
okay.
just that for some reason, the ownership of those was never transferred to the city.
Mark, how were those lift stations being utilized?
For one of them's for Liberty and Laureles Liberty Middle School and Laureles Elementary, and the other one's for Palmer Loxall Elementary.
And where was storage being moved to Los Fresnos?
Yes, sir. It's piped all the way to here.
And you say they're functioning well?
Yes, sir. It's very, very good shape.
Any other questions in regards to the action item? Or do we get?
The one that's next there to the high school, it's not gonna be used, Mark? That's gonna be changed?
Can't hear you, Juan.
The one where the old lift station is, there by the high school, that's gonna be changed too, or that's gonna be with a new lift station?
think you asked about the high school lift station. It's already owned by the city in the same manner, but it doesn't change.
Okay. That was my question. Thank you, Mark.
My question to you was going to be, Mark, those two lift stations for Palmer Loxall or Laureles Liberty, has there ever been any problem with those two?
No, sir, that just through time, they've replaced pumps and motors and upgraded them, but they're upgraded now and in good shape, but no unusual problems with them.
Thank you. The move, I guess officially
Assume ownership.
obtain ownership, since we have been taking care of them all this time.
Second.
Okay, motion has been made for action item number 4, consideration and action to assume ownership of the Palmer Lasco and Laureles Liberty Memorial Lift Station. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And all those who oppose do the same.
Mr. Mayor, can I make a clarification?
Yes.
We have not been, since it's not ours, we have not been taking care of that. The school has been taking care of that.
Oh,
And really shouldn't be, because it should be ours, because we're charging them to process the wastewater. So up to this point, they have done all of the maintenance and repairs on them through the years.
they have been covering all the costs.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Just, I didn't want someone to think that we were fixing something that was not ours.
Mark, is Rio Hondo providing the potable water in that area?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. A motion has already been made. Thank you very much for action item number 4. Moving on to action item number 5. Consideration and action to approve change order number 7 for the Henderson Road Resaca Crossing project. At this time, we do have some visitors' remarks. Let's start with the very first one on top. It's Gordon Capon. Please come up. Good afternoon or good evening.
Mayor, Councilman, Mr. Milam, I appreciate the opportunity to speak here this evening regarding the Henderson Road project. The shift of, maybe I should get rid of this here. The shift of traffic to the north of the bridge is a concern for several reasons. The Henderson Road project was to improve the safety of traffic on the crossing bridges. My sister has already had a very close call on the new bridge due to the shift of traffic in such a short distance and an approaching distracted driver. I know distracted drivers are a concern everywhere, but when it's at the point of the bridge where it narrows and shifts, it increases the danger factor. As far as the shift goes, it was explained to me that the reason for the shift of traffic to the north, instead of having the bridge centered on the existing roadway, is that the bridges need to be centered on the bulkheads. Well, my question to that is, why weren't the bulkheads centered up on the existing roadway? All of the construction was new from the bulkheads on up. If the bulkheads had been centered up on the existing road, several of the problems with drainage and the shift of traffic in such a short distance would have been lessened or eliminated. And to note for the future, just in the last couple of weeks, we've had 2 for sale signs go up for properties on Henderson Road. One for 31 acres and the other for 150 acres. With the prospect of probable subdivision development on the horizon, the impact of a major increase in traffic on Henderson Road should be considered and planned for. The Harlingen paper today stated that their city was going to get a $10.9 million stimulus from the federal government, which they said they were going to give city employees an extra 2 paychecks, fund a water plant upgrade, and improve drainage issues. I've not seen anything in the press about Los Fresnos getting a stimulus payment from the federal government, but if there is, I would like for the city council to consider a portion of the stimulus for a shoulder on Henderson Road, as others have brought up as well. It is not pedestrian or cyclist friendly. The sidewalk on the bridge is the only place that is semi pedestrian friendly. And if we have a shoulder on Henderson Road, it would make future widening or expansion of the road easier. And finally, I would like the council to consider a tabling of the change order so a public hearing could be held to address the issues on the Henderson Road project. I understand Councilman Andy Lopez was not available for this meeting, and it's undetermined when he might be available. But I feel his input on this project would be beneficial considering his proximity to the project and its impact on his and his neighbors' properties. Again, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Gordon. Next up, we have Mr. James Keeler. Good evening. Thank you for being here today.
Just transfer this over to the other corner of the room. I will promise I'll talk.
That's no problem. Jackie? Any recommendation for that? So you need to be near the microphone so that you can be recorded for public. Yeah, so. No, you could move that so, and you can position it to where they can see it on that spot. Because at the moment you start speaking is when your 5-minute will start. So however you want to do it to get as close as you can to that microphone. No, you can't. And so if we got people on Zoom right now, we have to make sure and be respectful so they can hear what you're saying as well.
What we're talking about is a order to take another step for $148,000.
Can you please get closer to the mic, please? I'm sorry. We need people to hear you online.
Corrections on this, can you see? Right now, the corrections on the project, there's 4 or 5 areas where they're correcting it. But the one that most concerns us is by the lift station and in this corner. It narrows down very narrowly. There's drainage issues. They came back, which what I call the trickle trough, and it'll work if we have a 1/4 inch rain over an hour period, and it'll take care of the flow. Anything beyond that, it doesn't work. Now they're coming back to put across the street culvert of 12 feet wide to take the water where 90% of the water comes off Henderson Road. They're going to take that, put it into their trickle trough, and expect it to work. None of that's going to work. The transition is also another problem. And what we have here is a proposal to deal with the transition in this drainage. We go over to the other side and we take a gutter, the same 12-foot gutter that they're planning, but we move it back 8 feet and we put it across the 40-foot street. And instead of going in a trickle trough, remove that thing because it's not going to work, and put a 12-foot wide gutter, maybe narrow it down to 10 and 8 foot, and a one with the flow line of 4 or 5 inches deep, so it can take the water. They made this little trickle trough for the water on this street, on this side, which only drains about 300 feet back. Probably 5 to 8% of the water that is in that intersection. 80 to 90% comes here, and another 5 or 8% on the other side of the street. By doing this, we can make this thing straight. We can take the 28.4, which is the measurement on the crossing, maybe bring it down to 27.6, 27, 26.6. None of that would even be noticeable. And in the next 200 feet or 180 feet, we go
from the remaining 6.5 down to the approximate 19-foot width of the road. I know on the plans they call it 20-foot. There's 18-foot sections of that road. They vary anywhere from 18 to 20. Probably 19 foot is the mean average of the width of the road. And in this way, we're going to have a general transition, and we take care of the bulk of the rain. Now, water currently comes down here. Without this in here, it goes across the road through the lift station and onto Ruben's property and down the road. On this side, what they planned, and it'll work pretty good, is a concrete trough that leads all the way down to the corner. Now, what I've done is modified a little bit of what they planned. Here's the lift station, and I lifted this up so we could see a little bit more. The problem is there's a steep bank here, and you're going to have to include a retaining wall, maybe as high as 30 inches, so Ruben doesn't have a 45-degree slant from his fence to the road. But overall, this whole concrete side, about 10 feet width, would act as a gutter to carry any water that does come down that side and out this way. There's almost no water, drainage water into the intersection from this side of the road. It's all from the north side of the road, and that'll be taken by this big gutter. The problem is the location of the big gutter over here into this existing gutter that was just added on some months ago is not going to do the job. It's got to be pulled back, put in the flow line, and raise its elevation, because this intersection steep. Is pretty steep. Raise its elevation so we get plenty of gravity to run around the corner. I drew this over here because Ms. Gomez showed me pictures that the water comes around this gutter and runs over the concrete foundation they built for her fence. That can be solved. We could either go past her fence or go right tight to her fence and just put a little curb right along her fence so the gutter goes into the resaca, not in her fence. Now, the engineer did a pretty good job on this side. I think there needs to be modification. Also, if you build this concrete here, you're going to have about a 4-foot step up to that lift station. And they need to either bring a ladder. I would suggest they build some concrete steps around the side and put a gate in that lift station and put a concrete wall here right up against the lift station and then carry the water on out. We have a problem. The whole purpose of this was for safety. We needed to put a guardrail to keep cars from going in the resaca. Now, on Whipple Road, we see a guardrail that the county did for nothing, and they went to well past the edges. Here, they stopped this.
Mr. Keller, I'm sorry, but you're out of time already. It's 5 minutes have already passed. And just to be fair to everybody else, everybody gets 5 minutes.
Is there
to
anybody
speak.
that would donate their time to me?
That's fine. That's fine. I'm just trying to give everybody the same benefit. And I understand, but everybody gets a 5-minute time. So all I'm saying is you're fine. You can donate your time to him, but there's a 5-minute rule. I have to honor that rule. So
Can
apologize.
you come up here and hand it off to me? Do we need to do that? Good. Let's go. Thank you, Gabe. I appreciate that. All right, next. Over here, remember, we got to put a wall here, and we're going to need to build some steps to have access to the lift station. But another problem, the week after they opened it up, on a Sunday, they had workers working out in the lift station with this little narrow 19-foot road and a hill for them. They were parking right in the roadway. They always have parked in the roadway. And then in the narrowest point is where they park to work on the lift station, which takes it down to 1 lane of traffic. If we put this 10-foot width of the sidewalk over here, we've got parking area for them to get off the road to service the lift station. Furthermore, a project since 2015 and 2017, I asked the city, when you make this and design this project, take care of the shoulder for the pedestrian traffic and the kids that go there. It's been covered over ever since, but at least we'll have a sidewalk here and another little extension. And maybe one day we'll have a shoulder that goes all the way from Henderson, from Old Alice to Paredes Line to take care of the kids and the traffic. 2017, sir, you assured me you'd take care of that and look into it when you did the project, but it didn't happen. Mr. Narvaez. Now, let's go to the other side and deal with some of the issues. On the other side, I do this in a bigger detail. So we're talking from a canal, an irrigation canal on the far east, and we come down here, it widens out, and we go across here. I ran out of room, so I'm right here. We pick this up and continue on over here. On this side, we've got a lot of height. The difference between the elevation at the lowest point, which is at the lift station, to about right here, past this canal, is 6 foot in elevation. So all this road goes down to the lowest point. I think we would have been ahead if we'd have put the lowest point in the middle, designed the drainage differently, and gone up and down both directions. But it's all down at the lowest point in the other side. So we've got a high elevation here, and this side, the north side of the east end, gets a lot of water. It comes down from your house, Villafranca, your area. There's also a pipe, there's a ditch over here that comes across, it comes to here, and it goes, they made pipes across here, so there's drain pipes underneath there, and it goes all the way to here, and from here is a lot of erosion. So this is where they're planning a concrete gutter to take it all the way down to the edge. Not a bad solution, given the fact that this is what we got to deal with. We can't change the roadway. But the bottom line with all of that is, this is very, very steep. And I got a piece of paper from the mayor that said, the engineer said the slope is 1 to 12 and 1 to 13. I don't understand that, because at this end, you have the road maybe 1.5 feet or 1 foot above the seawall. At this end, it's many feet. The seawall is level. The road goes up. So if you're going to build a seawall here, the banks that they're going to have to mow, the sidewalk, get more and more and more severe. The slope transitions. It's going to be very hard to mow at this end. And you may need to realize, or may even think, grass is not the solution that you already approved. Wasn't that a $16,000 contract approval for addition? Recently, yes. So that grass may not be the solution here, because it's real steep, and I don't know that you want a tractor driver driving along the edge at the east end. You may want to use a little bit of, well, we don't have to worry about anything here, but once we get down to this area, maybe rocks and gravel or something. Another issue that needs to be taken into consideration, cars coming down here, and this is where you widen out. And if they go off the edge, they still don't have the opportunity to go into the Resaca. This also should have been run another 20 feet like the other one, but we can deal with it by putting palm trees here. At this point, that would be the cheapest solution, to put enough palm trees where they run into a clump of palms, as opposed to going in the Resaca, which would be the better of the two evils in my mind. Now, you've got a sidewalk here, and they're planning a lot of work over here.
Mr. Keeler, your second 5-minute time is up, according to the clock.
Thank you. Is there a donator for a third 5 minutes? Who's got it? Okay.
If you want to do 1 or 2 more, but we can't be here all night taking donations. So if you want to do 1 or 2 more, you can.
Okay, over on this side, they're doing a lot of work and making a swale, and they're going to put 190-foot concrete 5-foot walk with and about 183 of it has a gutter on a curb. And they have to put that curb because there's a very steep angle on the side of the road, on the roadway off the sidewalk to the wall here. I'm going to suggest that instead of building this long gutter that goes down here and comes all the way over here and dumps into the Resaca, had they thought ahead of time and looked at the grades, they foolishly cut all of this wall off. They put it up that high and cut 2 and 3, 4 feet. And now it's got extremely steep banks to try to mow. Had they used what they had and not cut it off, we would have had a wall that was sufficiently high to mow here. My suggestion, in the top of that wall, in the middle where the crossing is, looks like this, and there's two 12-inch step downs on the bulkhead. Instead of putting the gutter, build a wall like this, which would set on top the existing bulkhead cap. It would go up 2 feet, come on down. I would suggest an 8-inch hole every 5, 6 feet with the number 5 rebar, 4 number 4 rods, and we would increase this height of this bulkhead from here to here and change the mowing angle from this to that. And I wouldn't want to be driving a tractor along this edge. Now, you may have a fellow that thinks it's exciting enough that he'd like to do it, but you might lose a tractor in the process. Even if it were riding lawnmower, it's foolish to have done that. But this would be an acceptable angle. And by the way, when you make the final grade before you sod, cut that down 4 inches, because you're going to have sod of 2 inches, and it'll grow about 1 inch a decade. And in 20 years, it'll be up 4 or 5 inches anyway. But that would take care of this problem take care of the fact that the water rushes down, and you would eliminate erosion by increasing the height of the bulkhead. Now, where are you going to get that dirt? This dirt right up here is high. The canal blocks this, so you don't get any drainage over there. The only water you get here is the water that falls there. So you don't get any additional runoff. This canal blocks it. It's not coming across here. Get as much as you can. Currently, after the last rains, the dirt flows onto the sidewalk. Get rid of these borrow ditches. You don't need to mess with any of this, and just grade it down and use it to fill in all the way down to the bulkhead. And that takes care of, and filling in down to the bulkhead means going on this side all the way down to here. And if you take the excess dirt, because it's too high already, and bring it up here, I don't think it would require any dirt. On the far side here, I think the gutter is the best solution. I'd like to flip this over and talk about. We didn't prepare for old-fashioned visuals other than one corner. Is that it, ma'am? Okay. For 2 years, the city said, we have to have 80 feet. We can't do this without the 80 feet. We got to expand for the future. All right, and we've got to have 80 feet. I fought for 2 years, don't take Mrs. Davila, the previous owner of the corner lot, property away, or take her wall away. Eventually, they decided they didn't need to take the wall away, but they took the water away to get their 80 feet. I want to show you the ultimate irony. This is an 80-foot right-of-way. They took, this is a horizontal cross-section. They have a bulkhead right here that comes in 8 feet. The outer wall is here. You have an inner wall here. The outer wall is here and inner wall here. 8 feet on each side from 80 left you 64-foot net. And ultimately, that's all you got to work with for any future crossing is 64 feet. Let's say they said, Keeler, it's not such a bad idea. Not taking away Ms. Gomez's 10 foot. Let's just let her have it. And this shows the 70 foot. Forget the 10 foot. Put the right away back to here. Put the bulkheads outward instead of inward. If we'd have done that.
Mr. Keeler, again, your time is up at this point.
Okay, I'm glad you're worried about time.
Sorry, I'm just, time is time. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Helen. So on the 70-foot right of way, which would have solved taking the land away from the corner lot, and if they'd have put the bulkheads outward instead of inward, the irony is they would have had, and assuming we're talking about a 1 foot thick concrete wall, and all we would have needed would have been a little bit of water right away there, we get 68 feet instead of the eventual 64 feet that we got with the 80-foot right of way. So the irony is 80 foot of right of way poorly designed, gave us 64 feet of usable width. 70-foot right of way, if we'd have done a little advanced thinking and not had time limits, we could have gotten 68 feet and saved money on that too. And folks, you talk about saving money. The railroad in 1927 was put across there and is still there today. It's much higher above the water, much narrower, and if you've got 8 cars going in there, you're pushing 2 million pounds going across that crossing at one point in time. They all are about 225, 230 when loaded. It goes every day, sometimes twice a day. It's still there. And all we had to do to make the bank was to build our crossing, get concrete, rubble, and debris for the last 2 feet, and top it with the nice crushed granite. We'd have done the same thing the railroad had. The bulkhead, I just noticed that there was a $500 credit for bulkhead that wasn't, that was planned extra or whatever. So I assume it was $500 a foot. At about 1,200 feet of bulkhead, at $500 a foot, we're looking at $600,000 that we put in bulkhead. And I think we could have done it with rubble and crushed rock for maybe $150,000. That's how the money was wasted. And we need to reevaluate the decisions that are made because we're in the interest of saving time. Now, let's talk about other mistakes. You see this, let's flip back to the other side. I heard over and over again, we've got a plan for the future. And if in 2070, we need a 4-lane, 50-foot roadway, we've got to have it. I told you how you could get a wider roadway with less property if you'd been thinking. Over here, I'll bet this was $40,000 portion of the contract. We didn't need to touch this pavement up here. We didn't need to replace that irrigation pipe. The irrigation pipe as it was beyond what we needed to mess with. They said, well, if we eventually widen the roadway, wouldn't we have to change the pipe? In 2060 or 2070 or 2080, when we need a 4-lane road there, guess what? The irrigation pipe only goes to this farm, and it would have never it won't be used probably 10 years from now. So why did we go to that $40,000 or $50,000 expense at a pipe that if we ever had to widen the road while it was still being used, we could have fixed it then? It was a lot of expense. The contractor had to, I don't know, I'm saying 120, 30 feet. Was it 16-inch pipe, John? It was 16 to 24-inch pipe, maybe 18-inch, something in that neighborhood. We had to put 120 feet of pipe. He made it, and he dressed it up beautifully. A nice end of the ditch, concreted it all in. And I asked the question, why? It was plenty wide before, and it'll become obsolete before the road will ever be touched. But yes, engineers thought it had to happen. That's another example of wasting money. But right now they want to spend $138,000 more in contract addendum number 7. It's $138,000 and some change. This is wise. This side needs to be totally reevaluated on this side. You don't even have the need for it here. 20 to 1 ratio in the water that comes down here versus this side. All of this can be reevaluated. On the end where the lift station is and the narrowing, that needs to be addressed. Now, the west side. This contract has been interrupted enough, plus weather, plus COVID. We all want it fixed. We don't want to stop the contract on the west side. 60,000 or 59,000 and change of this contract addendum order in the agenda goes to the west side. Of that 60,000, about 35,000 of it is used in, they learned from the east side folks. Engineer may not admit it, but he learned. Is the engineer present today?
He's supposed to be online.
Oh, you're online. Good. Okay. Is he seeing me? All right. Go
Okay,
from there.
Your time is up again, Mr. Keller. There's 4 people up here. If any of them would like to donate their time, they're more than welcome to. This is for the people that have already signed to speak. If you wish to donate your time, you're welcome to. If not, you would have to take a seat and let the next person come up and speak.
figure out a solution that doesn't set down that.
Thank you, Mr. Keller, for your time today and your little presentation. Thank you. But we should have hired Mr. Keller to be our engineer. But just to remind you, whenever, Mark, whenever we hire an engineer, there's a process in place. We don't just pick somebody. We have to vote for that engineer. So I just wanted to clarify that. So next up, we have Gladys
Are we
Hopkins.
done with the subject already?
No, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 more visitor remarks in regards to this subject. We have. You were one that donated it, right? You already had donated your time to him? Okay, I thought that. I just had it here. No, Gabriel Peña? Oh, okay. Inez Gomez? Come on up, Miss Inez Gomez. Good afternoon or good evening.
So all the water, the trash, the runoff that comes from Henderson, from Cuates, pretty much it runs up to the outer drainage that I've never seen in my life. They just pretty much packed the concrete that pours over to the Resaca. Never seen that in my life. But yet all the garbage comes from down there, comes into my property. I have all my dogs that are there. Right now, I'm in a lot of water. Right now. And I keep calling the water district. They say it's the city's fault. Call the city. City says it's their fault. I need to make sure that we get them involved with us because they're not bringing their water levels down. We had a few inches of rain. It's not even. We haven't had a thunderstorm. I mean, a hurricane. Imagine if what you do. We're not even there yet. So pretty much when all that water comes down, they've already, I sold my property for this, not knowing when I bought the house that this was gonna happen. So this was just like, what are you talking about? I got a what? When I purchased my home. And that concrete is over my property about 1.5 feet, around to 2 feet over my property. They went over. So that's also something that before the construction, none of this over water, none of this garbage was in my yard. So pretty much what I'm going to do now is when the garbage ends up in my yard from everybody down the street, I clean my palm trees all the time. I have tons of palm tree garbage on my yard. I'm just going to throw it over the fence for the city to pick it up because I'm not going to be picking that up. I have dogs in the backyard. I have snakes now. Grass up to here that I can't mow because the water levels are so high. And this is all after the bridge was built. The lighting, there's no lighting. Are you guys going to be put any kind of palm light poles that have lights back there? Speakers already started. It's only going to get worse once it opens up to the public. And with, of course, the bumpers, what is it called, for the cars not to go over, it's too short. Somebody's gonna end up going on what is it, on the Rubin side. It's definitely too short. But I've had 2 rattlesnakes that I already killed in the backyard. I already called Mark to let him know about that, and he keeps saying that there's nothing that he can do about the water situation. So what do we do from there? I'm new to all this with here in Los Fresnos. We pretty much, my husband, we were from Brownsville, joined the Air Force. My husband retired Air Force. Let's go back to the valley. And here we are now underwater. Can't have my children in the backyard because we're underwater. And this was not 3 years ago? We didn't have Jenny. How far much water that you can't mow in your backyard? She, my next door neighbor. She's at the same thing. She's down the road. The water is just crazy. Were you guys, Mark, were you guys gonna put any lighting back there? There's gonna be, I saw that they were gonna be changing some, poles. Are they gonna be different poles or I mean, fiberglass or? Oh, okay. But my concern is from all the water running down, it's going into the concrete onto my yard. It's not going to the Resaca, it's going into my yard and it just collects and collects. And my dirt is going off into the Resaca. Is there, I don't know, I'm expecting an answer.
Well, Ms. Gomez, first of all, thank you for your husband for his service to the country. I want to start off with that.
Thank you.
In speaking to Mark, the levels of the Resaca are strictly from Cameron County Irrigation District number 6, if I'm not mistaken. And so we can't go in there and mess with them because then they'll turn around and sue us for messing with their stuff. So we can't do that. But what I would encourage you to do is maybe talk to Mark. Maybe he can get in contact with the irrigation district and see if we can
Well, I
expedite or
left
at
several
least get you a
messages
response.
for the gentleman and he hasn't, returned my call.
And this is for Cameron County, right?
Here, Mr. Nieto, I know you guys know Nieto that works there.
Mark, I believe that's Cameron County, right?
Number 6.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's not something that all we can do is just basically point you in the right direction when it comes to the water levels of the Resaca.
Is there something, a motion, something that I can request to have that person here and have another meeting?
Mark, do you have any
Because
insight
we
into
just
that?
keep pointing fingers. I'm the middle person and, well, no, he, and no, well, he, and I'm not getting anywhere.
Do you want to address her question?
I mean, it would be okay for you to another entity request something. We could do something like that, but you can't command someone from another entity to come before you. You can ask them to, you can do all those things, but they've got a separate board that they answer to and a separate, it's like a separate company, a business. And so we have no control over that business.
Well, I have a paper that says here that they're within the rights to have it within the banks. They're way over the banks.
Well, Mark, I guess that's something we can, ask if anything, and that's pretty much all we can do.
I have asked as well as she has, I know, and I have called and talked to him and asked. But he doesn't have to answer to me either.
Understood.
I don't know what I can do with that.
Probably, yeah,
Is
that's out of our
asked, hey.
control. That's out of our control.
I have a suggestion. They have board meetings just like we do.
Yeah, attend one of their board meetings.
They do have board meetings as well.
I think we have a
Yes,
member
ma'am.
of the board here tonight.
There's a board and they meet at least once a month. And I know that I've told the council this and I told you as well that some point between the time the design and the finish, the water district decided to keep their water levels higher. That affects a lot of you. You built retaining walls with that in mind, and now it's not high enough. But that's not a decision that the city made. It affected our project. It affected y'all's living. But once again, we have no control over the water level. If someone put a gun to my head and said, Mark, go change the water level in the Resaca, I wouldn't know how to do it. That's against, I would probably get thrown in jail if I did that as well.
Thank you, Mark.
It's
I
not
think
our
her
responsibility.
time is up for that, and we appreciate it. At least we gave you some direction on perhaps where you can maybe speak in front of their board and see if they can make some kind of resolution for that. But thank you very much for your time today. Last up, we have George Laughlin. Good evening, George. How are you doing today, Mr. Laughlin?
Gentlemen, let's use this chart here. A couple things. Safety. One of the major things that I'm speaking about.
And that's because you guys probably can't see that. Moving over. One thing is, everybody knows that how this road tapers down.
Can you speak up to the mic, sir? I'm sorry, I can't, having trouble hearing you. Maybe speaking up to the mic a little bit?
Okay, well, everybody knows how this road tapers down and it's meanders now. It's not straight. It doesn't follow a center line, as many people know. There's a barrier right here, and I can tell you that barrier right there is gonna stop a car almost instantly. Yes, it's gonna absorb some of the impact, but that's a higher safety concern that I have than having a couple of palm trees that were there before. Or the water, at least the water will stop you slowly and you can get out. I bet those two people that fell into it last time, they probably would have had worse situation here. Right now, the road's not open on the other end, and this is a major thoroughfare. When people, when that other side opens up on the west side, you're gonna have a lot more traffic going through there, and more people transitioning there, and so this is gonna be even worse. I mean, I live on the North Cuates Road, and I do bicycle here all the time, and I don't even use this walkway here for a couple of reasons. One, there's the bolts that hang out there. Yes, they cut them a little short, but if you walk through there and you brush up against them, you'll have to go and get some stitches because they're very sharp. I mean, that's just some of the safety items. The other thing is the appropriation of the funds. I realize that the funds themselves have been appropriated, but at the same time has been really, managed properly. One thing is, I understand and I see what happens with the water, the flow, and I'm not a bathymetric engineer knowing how the water flows and how much rain precipitation comes down at an instant of time to calculate what the water flow is going to be at a certain point. But that can be analyzed, and I understand that the engineers in charge probably should analyze that and take that into consideration. And again, with the water raising at Resaca, yes, I have Resaca a lot. I say about 5 or 10%. Now it was underwater compared to what it was in the past. I don't know if it's going to drop down. Do I go get fill dirt, fill it in? Or what I'm going to do right now, I can't mow the back portion because the grass is growing and of course there's that issue with everybody along the Resaca on certain portions and the erosion that's going to cause. So what happens, we lose more of the land. But getting back to it, we all need to understand what's happening there. Some of us are knowledgeable enough to understand that this design, I don't know who approved it, who analyzed it, and thought about the pros and cons and the failure modes that would occur when they came up with this. Not just on the design itself, but as well as the funding. Like Mr. Keel is saying, if we would use gravel instead of these expensive seawalls, and we could save ourselves, the city, a lot of money. And something that if you need to adjust it, you can adjust it by pulling gravel or rocks and so forth up, adjust it and put it back in place. In order to make any adjustments here, it's basically set in concrete. It's going to cost us a lot more. I'm talking for the city and the population now to make any adjustments than if we want to do it in the future. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Laughlin. I know that those bolts we're not done with the project yet. So if I'm not mistaken, we're supposed to finish off those bolts that are sticking out that you mentioned. That should be. Yeah, so. Yeah, like I said, they're waiting to finish the project to finish off all those little loose ends. So that's something that we're definitely going to be taking care of, okay? Yeah, I've been there. I live on Whipples. I sometimes go running on there. Thank you, Mr. Laughlin. We appreciate your concern today. Thank you for being here today with us as well. Moving on to the action item, consideration and action to approve change order number 7 for the Henderson Road Resaca Crossing Project. Any questions or comments from the board? And if not, anybody?
I have a question, Mark.
Go ahead.
And first of all, when did we start on this project?
Originally about 2015, I'd have to go look for certain.
And how many change orders have we had since then?
They're just 6. Tonight would be
It's
7.
been a lot. Where did those change orders requested come from?
Cameron County Irrigation District number 6.
And what has slowed this project down?
COVID has slowed it down. The change orders that Irrigation District number 6 wanted after we had already started, and they had already said that they agree with how it was done. They changed, and so that slowed it down several months. COVID has slowed it down quite a bit with people out on COVID. Materials have been hard for contractors to get. It's not just this project, it's been, I know all this region, I'm sure worldwide, then recently the rains.
And I know for a fact that when we first started this project, you had a difficult time getting a hold of all the landowners in order to arrange getting the right of way, correct?
Yes, sir.
So that took up a lot of time also, and that also cost some money, right?
Sure. Yes.
Okay, now, the thing about it is, what was the budget originally when we started the project?
We were just gonna do a simple crossing. We figured it'd be about a $1.2 million.
And what is it now?
A little over 2 million.
Okay, and this is another change order for how much?
130 something less a credit of 46, like Mr. Keeter mentioned.
And I don't mean to criticize you, Mark, or anything, but what I'm seeing is that you have done a lot of work on this project. You've bent over backward to try to keep everybody happy. And you've done a lot, and I have to commend you for that. Even though I'm still hearing a lot of complaints, I have a concern about that because you have done a lot to improve that area. And the city as a whole have done a lot to improve that area. And I know that we have hired some capable people, or at least we think they're capable people who carry out their responsibilities. Now, I'm not saying they're perfect. I'm not saying they know everything, but they do have a good idea as to what they're doing. And I think that a lot of these complaints that are made tonight should be addressed to our engineers rather than us. Okay, I'm no expert on drainage. I'm no expert on construction of streets. I'm not an expert, but the engineers are, and they can better answer your questions. I'm being told we're gonna save $25,000. $25,000 is a drop in the bucket. I mean, if we can save it, that's great. But I think we're doing a lot to help that area of the community. Mark has a lot of other concerns. I mean, we talk about sewer. 10th Street, we had water in homes, actually in homes, not in the back of the house where we can't mow the lawn. But people actually having to walk, not by choice, but actually having to walk in water just to do their daily activity, like go to work or send their kids to school. TCEQ, I mean, there was one situation where we had a leak in a manhole. It was reported to TCEQ. We're not afraid to report things to TCEQ. When there's a problem, by law, we have to report it. So it's not that we're trying to hide anything. We're trying to work with everybody and do what's right for the whole community, not just one section of the community, which is actually a small section of the community. Lights, we're gonna get lights. There was another change item that we made. So this thing has grown. I mean, the budget is getting bigger and bigger as time goes on. Materials are getting more expensive. We need to sit down and work on this project and finish it off. And then if there's problems, correct them. But we need to do something. I mean, I'm saying just finish it off, be patient. Like I say, we're not perfect, but we're trying to do our best. And Mark has a lot to do with it, and I want to commend Mark for the work that he has been doing. I didn't hear you. Mark, you can make arrangements for that.
If he's willing, yes.
Mayor? May I say something?
Go ahead. Sir, order of the court. Right now, we're having a question posed. I'm sorry about that.
Thank you. First of all, I would like to commend Mr. James Keeler for all the time and all the work that he went through to make this presentation and all the work that he did with this diagrams. I mean, I think that's fabulous work, even though I don't even understand 1/4 of it. But I know that he did a lot of work on that, and I wish to commend him for that. On this particular project, it's been costing, like Mr. Narvaez said, a lot of money, and it just keeps on increasing. I see no end to it. I don't even see a light at the end of the tunnel. And with everything that I've heard from the different people that have stepped up to the podium to express their concerns, the problems that they are going through. Before we, and if I read this information correctly, as to the cost on this change order number 7, it says west crossing total rounded off to 60,000. East end crossing, let's round it off to 80,000. And there's a credit of 46,000. So total $93,000. I have determined to make a suggestion, and before we deal for a vote on this change order, I would like to recommend that we table this item for this meeting and suggest that we get the city's engineer, include Mr. Keeler, include the people that have spoken and, express their concerns, get the people from the irrigation district together into a friendly meeting here or somewhere and see if all of these concerns can be ironed out before we put any more money into the project.
Yes. Go ahead, Mark. Sorry, sir, you're Mark is speaking at this time. Sorry about that.
If I could, as even Mr. Keeler mentioned, the complete on the west side, if we could, you could approve that piece, get the west side done. It deals with the transition that the folks have spoke about, and it does it well back to a distance that he had put on a diagram to us on the east end of that. The west end, it's not quite that far, but it's all the way to where 2 driveways are, and it would be a lot more expensive. So we stop it there, which is on that form you have and included. And so sounds like that about half of I think 2 of the sides are about right on the drainage, maybe some cleanups of that, and then two of the others still need to be addressed, so don't approve the east side, but approve the west side. The contractor can go on, get that done, doesn't stop that work. It gets it done, gets the west side open, and then in the meantime, we can discuss the east side more as you mentioned.
And if we delay this, it could also cause an increase in pricing to go up on some of these services, or like on the, if we approve the west side and defer the east side, will that price be subject to change if we give it another couple of weeks, or?
Well, you know, I don't think that you're comfortable with the east side. And I know the folks here are not comfortable with that. So I don't think at this point whether the cost goes up or not is the question. The question is, let's just wait and take our lumps with that, make it to where people are acceptable, engineering is acceptable. We feel like it's good, and then the West can continue on. Does that make
Most
sense?
definitely.
And a compromise on that way they can people can stop having to go one direction. You can go out the other way.
So it's clear the east side is the one in question. So we can vote today on a consideration action for number 6 to approve the west side funding only, correct?
Right.
Go ahead.
As an elected official, we are elected to listen to the good, the bad, and the ugly. This is what a democracy is all about. And I want to thank each and every one of you for coming and exercising your rights as a citizen of the United States. And I encourage you to, if you have something bad, good, or ugly, keep on coming. And as far as I'm concerned, you're welcome here anytime, and I'm here to listen to you. And when I'm not ready to listen to you, it's time for me to get out of this job. Thank you.
And again, my thing is elected in November. Obviously, by November, most of this project was already done. So coming in, the only concern I have is the expenses that we're having to incur. So the first thing I think of is, what are the biggest problems that we can solve on this project? And what's the minimal amount that we can spend? Because obviously we have other necessities. Like you said, on 10th Street, we had sewage ooze out of the property into, to some of the properties there. Whipple Road has been asking for a sidewalk and for their bikes as well. So what I see here is an opportunity to be able to help, but at the same time, kind of oversee what's going on. But, I appreciate all the effort that Mr. Keeler did in preparing this. To me, all this stuff is Greek. Like I'm looking at it, I'm trying to make sense of it. I've been out there multiple times, and I do see a couple of concerns out there. But again, I'm not an engineer, and I know Mark has his heart in this, and he's trying his best to get this job done. So again, I also want to thank Mark for what he's doing with this work. And nobody's perfect. There's always going to be errors here and there, but our job is to identify them, correct them, and move on. So thank you again. With that said, we have the consideration and action to approve the proposal to amend the city of consideration action to approve change order number 7 for the Henderson Road Resaca Crossing Project, funding only for the west side of the crossing, which is listed in the form. And we will defer on the east side until we can get the engineer here to answer some of the questions of the citizens that we have today. Anybody wish to make a motion on that?
So move.
Did anybody say motion the first one? Oh, sorry. We have a motion. And I go ahead and second that. And motion has been made to approve consideration action to approve change order number 7 for the Henderson Road Resaca Crossing Project. Only the west side crossing portion, not the east side crossing. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those who oppose do the same.
Aye.
Okay. Motion fails. At this time, it has not been approved. Moving on to the next item, consideration and action to approve the proposed to amend the City of Los Fresnos Hazard Mitigation Plan. Do we have any questions or comments in regards to this action item? Do I hear a motion? Yeah, number 6.
Can Mr. Mylan give us an explanation, brief explanation on that?
Yes, sir. In your comment, I have quite a bit of comments on there. It has a hazard mitigation plan it has to be filed each city entity. And it addresses some of the drainage issues throughout town. It addresses anything that could be a potential problem from an act of God, a hurricane, tornado, heat, heavy temperatures, a drought. And so part of this plan, we put together of what are the mitigation things that we can do to resolve those. And so we put those in a plan, and it becomes part of our goals to do those things. The other part of that plan is if you have that in place, when there is a disaster, you can access hazard mitigation funds, grant funds in order to help with those things so that our local budget doesn't pay for all of it. And needs to be updated every 5 years, and we're coming up on that. So
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark. Do I hear a motion? Second.
I move to approve.
And Mr. Herrera seconds that. Motion has been made. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those who oppose do the same as well. Motion carries. Consideration and action to approve the proposal to amend the City of Los Fresnos Hazard Mitigation Plan. Acknowledgement of city managers' reports. Mark, would you like to add anything on the acknowledgement of the city manager reports?
don't have anything in particular. I've got my comments there. If you have any particular questions, be glad to answer.
Do I get a motion from any of the members to acknowledge the city manager's reports? Second. Okay, motion has been made to acknowledge the city manager's reports. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And all those who oppose do the same. Motion carries to acknowledgement of the city manager's reports. Moving on to the acknowledgement of the department head reports. Any questions, comments in regards to the department head reports?
Second.
Okay, motion has been made to acknowledge the department head reports. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And all those who oppose do the same. Motion carries to acknowledge of the department head reports. The current time is 7:52. We'll be entering a closed session. Thank you very much. We'll be back.
Up, man. Been done. Good job. Yeah. Be glad to go to work for you. Yeah.
Juan, can you click to join that room? Click the button that says join room. There may be a red dot at the bottom. We're gonna go back to 300,000.
Closing session ends at 8:57. We open the meeting back up at exactly 8:57. And meeting is adjourned. 8:57. Thank you.